With just 1 week to go until lights out in Jeddah, more and more bad news seems to be coming Mercedes' way. Red Bull have delivered a massive blow to Mercedes' title hopes, and on top of that, Mercedes bosses have been given a strict ultimatum if no improvements are made in the next 2 races. This is one you don't want to miss, guys, so let's dive straight into today's video. Mercedes got off to a bad start in Bahrain, with Toto Wolff going as far as to say the opening race was one of his worst races in history, and that there was nothing positive for the team to take away from it. And now Mercedes bosses and Toto Wolff have been issued with an ultimatum for dramatic improvements within the next 2 races, or Mercedes focus will be making a dramatic and questionable switch. The situation down at Mercedes has not gone unnoticed by the board at Mercedes, who were hopeful to see this season being the turnaround that the team desperately needed to bring the fight back to Red Bull. However, it turned out that Mercedes had gone backwards through the winter, with Wolff suggesting that the W14 could be over a second and a half off the Red Bull RB19's pace. And with that, Mercedes have been given until the Melbourne Grand Prix to make up some considerable ground on their competitors, and if they fail to do so, the best engines that they have set aside for the W14 shall be issued to the customer team of Aston Martin, who as it stands have a much better chance of being able to take the fight to Red Bull. Now, you would assume that all engines produced by Mercedes for Aston Martin would be the same powertrains that are used in the W14, whereas in reality, they are not the same due to what goes on during the production process. After production, each engine is tested, and the engines which come close to the set standard laid out by Mercedes go in the cars of Hamilton and Russell, with the engines that don't quite hit the mark going to the customer teams of Aston Martin and McLaren. In Bahrain, it was revealed that the engine in Hamilton's W14 had an additional 4 horsepower compared to the engine in Alonso's Aston Martin, even though both engines had identical specifications. Now, whenever it rains, it pours for Mercedes at the moment. And not only did Mercedes' bitter rivals get the better of them in Bahrain with a 1-2 finish, but Red Bull have now delivered another critical blow to the Silver Arrows on top of their internal ultimatum. Red Bull got off to an absolute dream start in Bahrain, with Verstappen finishing a jaw-dropping 50 seconds ahead of Hamilton, plus 12 seconds in front of second-place sitter and Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez. Red Bull's performance was so superior in Bahrain that they probably could have won the race regardless of what tyre strategy they ran on the day. However, the RB19's ability to be gentle on the softer compound tyres is what really helped to improve Red Bull's advantage. And Red Bull was so dominant on Sunday that George Russell even went as far as to say he would not be surprised if Red Bull won every single race this season, and he believes that Red Bull already have the title fight wrapped up. And it seems like Red Bull are inclined to agree with George Russell's statement as well, having already ruled out Mercedes for being in contention for this year's title, with Red Bull's Helmut Marko taking a serious dig at the W14 and Mercedes' work over the winter break. The World Championship title is out of reach for Mercedes. Its concept doesn't have one problem, but several. The solution didn't come over the winter either. Marko also believes that Mercedes developing another car concept would be a very difficult undertaking for them to achieve due to the restrictiveness of the budget cap, and he went on to add, "You can't design 2 or 3 cars. If a completely new car comes along now, it will be difficult for the financial limits. And the new car won't be competitive from the start. You have to develop it further. They don't have the 3 days of testing and the racing experience." So some pretty brutal comments from Marko regarding Mercedes in the W14. However, I am inclined to agree that Mercedes look unlikely title contenders this year. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But that's going to be the video from me today, guys. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. And until the next time, bye bye.